Hello.
Hey, this is Jeff.
Hi, Jeff. So, Nansu, do you know if Huni is calling in?
No, she's traveling.
Okay. So, Hua is also at the CRI TBI summit. So, I don't think he'll call in. Maybe we can wait for another 2 minutes or so and then start. So, you didn't go for the EMEA summit, Kirk?
Doesn't have a paper. Doesn't submit a paper.
I thought. It's the first time I saw. Okay. Oh.
Hello, this is Phil from Oxford. Good everyone.
Hi, Philippe.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Philippe, are you going to be at RDA?
No, but
No.
Susanna will.
Who will? Susanna? Okay, good.
I think so, yeah.
So I can touch base with her.
So I guess we can get started. Okay, so let me just start off in the room here. I have Shaoling, Kirk, and Firat. And on the call, I have Jeff and Yuling, Nance, Philippe, Wei Wei. Did I miss anybody? Somebody just called.
Hello,
in.
Alejandra here. I've just joined.
Yeah, hi, Alejandra. So, as normal, we will talk about the action items from last time, and also I have one discussion item where we want to talk a little bit about standardization of the way the metadata fields themselves are named during the mapping process, because I think Shaoling is having some problems since they're not all identically named. So we'd like to talk about that, and to just reinforce that we need to all use the same way of writing down the names of fields. And then I also want to touch base with regard to the upcoming features for DataMed version 3 or anything that's earlier, and then if there are any updates from all the other team members. So Jeff's team is working on reindexing with the updated NLP pipeline. So Jeff, do you have any?
Yep, so Barak has done the internal testing. He's now doing some additional testing with some of the data sources, and so that will be coming any day, probably tomorrow.
So you haven't had any of the memory leak issues that we had earlier?
We haven't seen anything yet, so that's why we're doing some additional testing.
Okay.
But we'll have some of that. We'll have those testing results tomorrow, I think, is what he just told me yesterday.
Okay.
So we should be able then to start run. If all goes well, then we should be able to do another run through, shortly after that. So the question then gets back to some of the other points about the naming, which I know we talked about before, and we have a spreadsheet on that. and also the IDs that we talked about, making sure that we're, doing a standard,
Right, and the main reason I want to bring that up here is since the mapping is being done across 3 sites, we want to ensure that everybody who's involved in the mapping follows the same protocol.
right, and there's the spreadsheet that we'd set up that had all the field listings specifically.
Right.
Right, and so.
So I think from some of the examples that Xiaoling showed me, it seems that it's mostly, for the most part, like, where uppercase is used instead of, or lowercase is used instead of uppercase, or, stuff like that. Those are really, seem like very trivial things, but then when she was trying to add multiple fields into the advanced search option, because we are trying to add dimensions into advanced search. Right. And that was when she started running into difficulties, because there were some field names which probably said, if it said primary publication, in some of them the P in publication was in uppercase, whereas in some it was in lowercase.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've been camel casing everything, so.
So is there some way of like automatically checking when people submit their transformation files?
Yeah, we can write a final check. Xiaoling, does she have a Google spreadsheet with all these listed, or a doc?
No, I think she just has some anecdotal ones, right? Did you?
I don't see that spreadsheet before. Do you?
No. So what Jeff is asking is, whenever you saw that there were differences, did you kind of put it in a spreadsheet, and can they look at it?
No, I didn't. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, no, it would be good to have a place where we can collect them and then sort of tick them off and.
So can we use the same spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Oh no, that spreadsheet, the one that that Jeff was talking about, is the one where we have the complete listing. Okay, I can show you that. That's the one which has all the listing of all the repositories and how they are mapped and what field they're being mapped to in the DAX.
Okay. Yeah, I can create a spreadsheet to collect the mistake one and then share with you.
And so maybe, Jeff, I wonder if we could, since it would be hard to go through all the repositories by Xiaoling, maybe we can split up the work between the 3 groups, and then we just keep putting in. So I just thought about it. So Nansu, does he have access to the index?
Yeah.
So Nansu, can you also go in and take a look at the repositories to make sure that they're all mapped to the correct terms on the DAX?
Which repository you want me to look into?
I think we can divide the work.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So let's see. So Yuling said that she actually went in and she looked at a lot of them, right?
Yes. Last year, December.
Right, I remember that. So should we look at those that we indexed only after that, or should we go back and check all of them again?
We could. If we split it up, we should be able to look at all of them. We just need to validate that it matches fields that are in that the fields as defined through DATS and in that spreadsheet are the ones that it's being that the names match, right?
Yeah, right. So in this spreadsheet, I mean, you couldn't potentially use this, right?
Well, I mean, this you can definitely check, right? Because if you go down, so like date released is the camel case, right?
So it should all say date released in this way, and if it doesn't say so, then we have to.
Right, and some don't have that information, so.
No, if they don't have the information, I think it's fine, right?
Right.
I guess the only issue so far has been that here, maybe, I mean, this is just me giving an example. We have uppercase D,
Well, it shouldn't be.
right? I mean, so should we maybe generate another spreadsheet and just have?
Well, yeah, I mean, we can create the
Populate
document that
that.
we were talking about earlier, where just any of the discrepancies in are
Right.
listed with the source and the
Or maybe if you want to, we can actually just add
add a sheet to that. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
right? We can
Yep.
just go on populating here. So let's then talk about how we want to divide it.
I mean, a number of them are going to fall away because they're using the same transform. So it's actually going to, like, if we get rid of the data site ones, that encompasses about 30 sources right there. So it's the remaining 30 or so. So that's about 10 a site.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So do you want to, Jeff or Yulin, can you, since you're most familiar with this, can you send out a list of repositories that you want each site to look at?
Yeah, we'll add it as a sheet to this spreadsheet.
Awesome. Okay, that's great. So also, I guess we just scheduled a meeting to talk about data type ontology that Philippe and Alejandra are developing. So this is for March 31st, 4 p.m. their time and 8 a.m. Pacific time. So Philippe and Alejandra, were there any specific information that you wanted us to collect before we meet?
Well, in a way, what we did is to collect the information from the terms that are currently used and survey what kind of modification we would seek to make so that the consistency maybe is achieved and the kind of access that allow some query expansion can be really exploited best. So that's really a starting point. What could be possibly interesting to have is to have pointers if new resources were to be included. If we have a kind of list of more resources that we'd like to be indexed, which one would those be?
So we do have a list of repositories that we have been going through for, let me show you that. So if you go into Biocardy Core Dev group, we have a file which says data. I can send you the link, but basically it says repository to be indexed for DataMed version 1.5, and we've been using this spreadsheet to keep track of what was going into 1.5. We started with that, but also we're using the same spreadsheet for version 2. So what has been done, what's in the pipeline, all comes up here.
Okay, so we will have a look at that. I think that's the best starting point. Another thing that we've discussed with Jared and Alejandra and George, I think, was the kind of in preparation for the meeting in May, with the kind of queries. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
With the kind of to have this kind of stepping stone approach where we would try to see the kind of what are the steps needed to connect data sets that we are currently missing, that would, if they were present in any of the transformation, would make this process a lot easier, thus helping data discovery from data sets which belong to different spaces, maybe a different scale of granularity or aspects of data science. In a way that's not necessarily covered by the current categorization or the one that we have looked at, but that would be, and it somehow it reflects some of the modifications that have been made to DATS 2.2.
So you mean additional information that are present in repositories that are not currently being covered by DATS, right?
Well, we had, questions. Well, some of them are present, but are not necessarily so easy to represent in the previous version of that. So we had questions about, geospatial coverage, and this is somehow important for survey data, but for all sorts of data sets. So I think that's one of the aspects. But we would have to also identify this as part of the data type possibly, or relate this information in the ontology to some of these facets.
I guess for geospatial information, the requirement came up because of the supplementary project. I hope it's sorry, our fire alarm just went off, so.
No problem. Yes, but it's definitely a valid use case, so I think it's good to have it.
And this is exactly what we've considered for the latest release. I was just actually sending an email to all with the links to the new release that I'm mentioning that is, so we added this coverage for the geographical locations, for example, but it's totally backward compatible. So all the pipelines shouldn't be modified. So although we think we might want to rename in future releases some of the attributes, for example, we left everything as it is so that it doesn't affect the current pipeline. So only now we provide a few extra, so one extra entity that is for place for all these geographical locations, and we added the possibility of a data set to have a spatial coverage exactly with the range of this place entity. So the use case that the links people, I think, had requested would be covered now.
Right, I think that was Xiao Chen from ECSC. So I guess since we are going to be reviewing repositories, would it be useful to see if any of these repositories have this information that we hand mapped earlier and remap it? In which case, then when Burak reindexes, the complete all the repositories with the NLP pipeline, everything can get reindexed. Do you think that would be better, Jeff?
Well, so I think there are a couple things with the complete reindexing. So there's the index, the IDs that we need to consolidate, the field names which we talked about earlier, and then the ontology, data type ontology. So so we can wrap a bunch of these things together, so that on the reindex that we capture all of that.
So Philippe and Alejandra, for the data type ontology, Is there a lot more work that needs to be done?
Well, we are working at Yeah, sorry. Go
ahead.
Okay. So we are working at identifying different resources that cover these elements and how we can represent the different data types. So actually, in terms of you ask about what it could be useful for the meeting, it's also, I mean, you had provided before a spreadsheet where you listed things that you came across, so the data types you came across. So I was wondering if that has been kept up to date, or if, so basically, if you, in the different data repositories, if you found something else, it would be good to have it now. So
I do not know that we have kept it up to date, actually. So that list was simply not something that we came across in data repositories. It was us trying to look at different ontologies that are out there, not necessarily from the repositories, but just ontologies that are out there and which have defined some data types that we were interested in. So
okay.
if we need to review the data types that are mentioned in repositories, we haven't done that.
Okay, so at least we saw the data types that appear in DataMed, so that's something that also we are considering. And the other question is how difficult it would be changes to that, to the current classification of data types. At the moment, there are 15 data types mentioned. So once we agree on the new ontology, would it be easy to reclassify all the data sets according to the new data types?
Yes. Currently, like the data type is on the repository level. So when we have the new data type ontology, I just replace the old one. It's quite straightforward.
Okay, that's great.
So it's not at the data set level, unfortunately.
I see.
So then, Jeff, I think it might require a little bit more work. So maybe we won't wait for the ontology work to be completed to reindex. I think we could potentially just do the NLP and reindexing.
Yeah, with the fields and the IDs, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I mean, and then so we've added a new sheet to the Google Doc. Anu, can Xiaoling just go over the spreadsheet and look through the list of sources? There are going to be a bunch of them that are sort of brought in via DataCite.
Okay.
But for the other main sources, to make sure that we're not missing any, or some that are on the list, because there's some that are potentially still in progress.
Right.
Okay.
And so I grayed out like the Cancer Nanotech portal because that still is, that's still, we don't have information on data sets there. So just so that we have the full list, and then potentially perhaps we can have someone who didn't actually do the original transformation file can. So if you click on the tab below, next to that, transformation review.
Mm-hmm.
We already transposed that, so.
Okay. So we can have somebody take a look at all of this and to see if there are differences. Maybe Shun can do it, right?
Yeah.
So we'll have one of our GRAs take a look at this, Jeff.
Okay.
The only thing is, I guess, we need to make sure that we focus on the ones that have already been indexed.
Well, yeah, that's why I said the first thing is to sort of gray out the ones that aren't finished yet.
Okay.
and then we can, we can divide up the, the other ones.
Okay.
And preferably not looking at the ones that we've done. So that, for example, we can look at yours, and you can look
Right.
at
Right. I think that's
the other UCSD, and the other, and BMI can look at ours or something like that.
right. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we'll have somebody take a look at this and gray out repositories that haven't been or are still being worked on, and the rest we can divide it up then.
Yep.
So for schema.org annotations, besides the updates that we gave you last week, we do not have any new updates.
Well, we are continuing to add, but I think we should add it totally into the website, right? Not step by step, and do the all mapping and add them all at one time.
Oh, okay.
Not step by step.
Right now we were doing it step by step, is what
Yeah.
you're saying. Okay.
I think we should do the remaining just as one step.
Okay.
Do it all and add to the page.
Okay.
And then I mean, so the one question with the schema.org annotations was some of them weren't mapping correctly onto schema.org.
Yes, mapping. So we have the keywords in the head part, and they are working, yeah.
So maybe it would be good just to set up where we can review that maybe online, like
just as testing.
Yeah.
For
as
testing.
part of maybe this call next week. I'm not here. I'm on plane.
Okay, maybe we could do that. We can.
So what Jeff is saying is some of the mappings were not straightforward from DATS to schema.org.
Well, they
So
might have been before, but I'm not the actual mapping didn't. So when I went and did the Google
a structured
using their
testing tool, right?
yeah, it was showing errors.
So we
But
use,
I think the reason is because, and I saw that as well, and I think it's because as they did the mapping right to the dataset JSON file
Yeah,
in
right.
that,
that's right. Yeah.
but some of the elements in that don't exist in schema.org. So, for
Right.
example, refinement and availability were failing. So for that, so one option actually would be either to include it as a property value or to follow the mapping we have in the context file. So
Right,
I think
also there were some other fields that were named improperly because there are slight differences between DATS and schema.org that also had to be fixed.
Right.
Does this affect the result of the search?
Well, it affects the ability for schema.org to find what it's looking for.
So if it doesn't have the field, then there will be something wrong about the result?
Yes, for Google. I understand that for Google it won't be like it's not parsing correctly, so they would miss those elements.
Now, hold on, I'm searching just for a record. Let me. Let's see.
So is there a place that we can get all the available fields besides the files that we have in the Google spreadsheet?
Yeah, hold on. So, untouched. Do you have?
Jeff, I just made you a presenter if you want to share your screen.
Okay, so, hold on. I have to allow it to first launch whatever it's going to launch. Hold on. Where'd it go? Conference, there they are. Okay, share desktop. So which desktop are you seeing?
Yes, we're seeing the structured data
Yeah.
testing
Structured
tool.
data testing tool.
Right, so keywords and description are fine. Like creators, there is a creators, but it's not called creators. So
It's singular for schema.org.
yeah, no, exactly. And then there's, as you were mentioning, refinement isn't there. But so, we should make sure that the ones that do map are using the correct schema.org terminology, like creators. And then for the availability, I think exists on a data set, but it's called something else.
So we should remove these ones, right?
No. So creators needs to be
To other names.
changed to map to what the schema.org field name is. And then for the others, Alejandro was suggesting that we could use the another way to represent them.
Yeah, so I think I shared with Firat the mapping we have and a JSON LD file I created with using the mapping. So either we use that, or if we want to use directly schema.org elements, indeed we have to change. So it's not valid to use directly the DATS elements because some of these don't exist or are named slightly different. So again, I can point you to the mapping file to see if that helps. But basically, unfortunately, the DATS is not directly; it has to be mapped to the schema.org.
So do we have a file that is correct, that has all the elements sensitively?
So what we have is a mapping between the DATS elements and the schema.org elements. And for those that don't exist, it's possible to use what schema.org has as property, I think it's called property value pair or some property value. So we can also look at including the extra elements as property values.
Could you please share the file with us, or maybe you shared but I missed it?
We have a JSON LD context file with all the schema.org annotation. It's in the repo. We can point that to you after the call.
Okay, thanks.
And there's also,
I
this
sent it
also,
already to Christina. Yeah.
yeah, I mean the title is the name or title is missing as well.
Yes, title is missing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes,
So
we
it
can
would
continue
be
the
easier to
discussion
have
on this.
one.
Yeah, and then for things like organism, I mean, there's no good place in schema.org to put that right now, right?
Correct. Yes, there is nothing.
Should all those be dumped into like keyword? I mean, that's another discussion topic.
Right.
Do they all get dumped into keywords or for now or?
Well, I guess that's an option, or as Alejandra pointed out, we can rely on the extension
That's true, yeah.
of property. Of course, if we have them in keywords, maybe it's easier to extract them back when we recognize them. We'd have to look at that.
So you will resend the file that you have, Alejandra, to Firat, right?
Yes, I can send the links to Firat.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, and the other thing was that based on our discussion last meeting with George, it was decided that we would add dimensions to advanced search. Xiaoling has already done that. So that's actually on the production system right now, and we just sent I just sent an email to to George asking him to check it out. So Jeff, if you want to check as well,
Okay.
just to go and search. I mean, everybody on the team probably should test it. And the other thing which I'm not very clear about is, are we indexing any additional repositories and have it include additional dimension data?
I mean, there are a few that, so Yuling looked at what we have with dimensions.
Okay.
And so we have a Google Doc that has those. So for example, Neuromorpho, import, EBI has it, and Lynx and the mouse phenome data set have one each, so that's not really, but like Neuromorpho and import have more. But the question was seeing if we could get one of the ones that has more clinical information.
Right. But I also thought George said that ICPSR could potentially be one.
Yeah, so we need to look at that. We should look at look at ICPSR.
And GDC.
And then the autocomplete. So in the autocomplete right now, where's it getting those from?
In advanced search, I think we get our autocomplete from the terminology server, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, because the autocomplete for dimension, that will probably lead to people selecting things that aren't going to be found, potentially.
So should we remove autocomplete from advanced search?
Well, the question, since the dimension is a very specific type of field, we need to think about that, because a dimension is actually, is going to be a specific term.
We can't take it away only for dimensions, right? Or can we write something and then say if there's dimensions to
Well, I
it?
mean, we can leave it for now. It's just, it might.
If we can check if the user select the dimension. Yeah.
Then we don't do autocomplete.
We can try to see if we can.
Yeah, that might be an option, because otherwise it might cause confusion. But I mean, if I search for dimension on age, which things should have, we come up with Neuromorpho, MPD, and import. So.
Okay.
So it is returning. Yeah, so the only other thing is see if we can get, another source that has data, so.
So are you getting, I don't think we are getting anything from TCGA, although TCGA may have some, but that needs to be mapped, right?
Well, it depends if it's in the data that we're given. A lot of times it isn't, or it's in a separate place. So, which is the same, which is when we went over, was it dbGaP, when we were looking at that? It's sort of in the data that's there, but there's no way to make heads or tails of it from within that data, it looks like. It looks like there is a separate place where that data is, so. Because the description of a data set is at a different level than a description of the variables used in the data set, or what the variables and their values.
Right. So
Just
it might
a
need
quick
some
question.
additional mapping then.
But like for MPD, we're getting, so MPD has body weight, for example.
So maybe we can play with it offline and then come back next week and discuss and see what additional steps we need to take to ensure that you have a smooth demo when they want to do. So Jeff, you're going for the workshop, right?
I don't know if I can go right now. I have federal jury duty, and I can't change it anymore, so I'm sort of locked in the month of May to potentially, it's one of these call-in jury duty things, but it's the federal one. So.
Oh, okay.
Last time they wanted me to show up during the BD2K meeting, and before that was another set of meetings, so I called the last time, and they're like, nope, we can't defer you any longer. Like, okay.
So is there somebody else who's going for it from the core devs team besides Alejandro and Philippe? Are you guys going to be there?
Yes. Yeah, we're going to be there.
Yeah.
So is there any, because nobody from UT Health is going, as far as I know. So is there anybody else that can go? Maybe I can ask George if he wants people from the CDT to be there.
Yeah, the other question is if there's also going to be like a way to listen in, and if there's going to be a remote.
I do
I mean,
not
how many
know.
How many people are you expecting at the CDE workshop? That's probably pretty small, right?
I would assume so, but there are going to be folks from NLM, right? Or also the repository folks are going to be participating in it? Those that come for the May 8th meeting, the Working Group 12 meeting? So maybe this is something to find out from George. Okay, and I think Diwakar got access to the UCSD server, and so I'm hoping in about 3 to 4 weeks we will actually get a look at the back end of user tracking, and they're right now building some analytics and visualization tools on top of the user tracking data so that we can actually see and make sense of all the data. So we hope that we will be able to get some useful information in about a month's time. So we talked about this. And the other major thing that I wanted to talk about is Firat, as you know, is checking all the UI components where he's independently installing the the DataMed UI components based on the documentation that was written by Xiaoling and Ruiling. And so once he's done with that, after that, what we want to do is also try the same with the ingestion and indexing pipeline, Jeff. So one of the things is I still think that whatever documentation that we have for the pipeline installation and running may not be detailed enough. So I wonder if Burak can take a pass at it based off of what we have here that Reeling generated.
Yeah, no, we can definitely take another pass at that.
So that we just make sure that we have more extensive documentation.
Yep. Yeah, and I can actually bring someone on to help with managing the document.
Oh, okay.
Finalize that, so.
All right, so can we say?
And then I'm going to share my screen real quick, just to.
Okay, sure.
Let's see. So which one are you seeing? Are you seeing DataMed?
Yeah.
Okay. So I found 2 CDEs in MPD. So like if you were trying to do a comparison of the thymus versus body weight, I mean these are just 2 terms I picked out. It's giving me this error, even though they're in there. And so I think this might have to do with the thymus weight might not be a term that you recognize, but if I just search for weight, do MPD, and then, was it this guy? Maybe it was this guy. No, not that guy. Well, I'm trying to figure out which one I pulled up here. So for example, it has all these different weights, and so I just picked 2 of them in the query builder to.
And when you put 2 of them together, it didn't work, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you send me the link you got an arrow, then I can take a look.
We'll do that right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
Because that's sort of, I think, what George wanted to sort of demo, is being able to, and so that would be, people looking for specific measures in data sets, so.
Right. I think we have about 10 minutes more, so is there anything, I have a list of all the features for DataMed. So
maybe I've got just a quick question regarding how data types is assigned to repository. It seems that there is only one displayed from the DataMed interface when you look at all the data types and how the repositories are classified under each of those categories. Is that the case, or can there be more than one data type?
So right now we have just one data type. One of the main reasons for doing that is because when we are searching, if we, let me just do that. So if we search here, when we search, let's say we search for cancer, you have the results displayed, and they are actually classified under the repositories, which are classified under data types. Now, if you are assigning multiple data types to a repository, this screen becomes it's very hard to see how you would actually display this. If you have a better idea and a better way of being able to display it when people go by data types, it would be great.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, maybe that would be, in a way, maybe the display should be because this is what we have been discussing somehow, is the kind of dimensions that could be covered by the different data types. So you could look at, are you looking at processes, or are you looking at molecular entities, for instance, and then show how things would relate. But again, we can discuss that during a specific meeting. Thanks.
So maybe next time we also want to talk about, just a heads up, I think we want to talk about potentially how many repositories we want to target in terms of finishing mapping and indexing before the end of the project, because that would give us a kind of a target to work towards. So that's something that we want to discuss maybe next time and come up with a reasonable number that we should be able to work with. Is there anything else that needed to be discussed? If not, then we'll finish a little early today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.